Hey folks, how you guys doing today? Can somebody do me a favor and let's just do a mic check here. Let's make sure that everyone's hearing me. I see there's a couple people that have joined, so we're gonna get going in about 30 seconds, but let's just confirm that everybody is hearing me okay. So for the folks that are joining us now, please just let us know where you're from. You'll see the chat box there on the right side. And Once I just get a confirmation that everyone's hearing me, don't be shy. Go into that chat box there on the right side of the screen, and just let me know if you hear my voice, and tell us where you're from. Where are you joining us today? It's always fun to to see all the different cities around the U.S., Canada, oftentimes overseas. All the wonderful school leaders that I'm honored to have the opportunity to talk with and engage with. It's always a real pleasure to see where you're from. So Teresa is from Melbourne, Florida. Okay, I thought you were going to say Melbourne, Australia, but Melbourne, Florida is definitely good enough. Welcome, thank you, Teresa, for joining us. Don't be shy, folks. Tell us where else where you're from, and I'm going to end up missing some of you guys. Also, I just want to mention as we get going, a lot of people usually join these webinars. So, and I'm also while I'm doing the presentation, I am basically flying solo. So I'm not able to actually answer all your questions as they come in. I don't always catch them, but I'll do my best to do so. But also, please stick around for the end. There'll be a question period at the end. So certainly do come in and don't be afraid to ask a question. In the chat box there, we got Paula Sharp from Wilmington, awesome, Delaware, I believe that is. So thank you for joining us. I'm really excited to talk about this topic today because, I've been basically interviewing school leaders for the better part of, well, I guess 20 years really. I've been working with schools and there's things that we see, very, very common mistakes, actually really mistakes that are really easy to avoid, and when they're avoided will have a really dramatic impact on your enrollment. So we'll just give this about 30 more seconds while people join us before we really kick it off. And again, for anyone that's joining us now, really excited to have you guys here, really honored to have your attention. I know your time is very valuable, so I really do appreciate it. Don't be shy. Tell us where you're joining us from, and as you come in, we'll just get going now. So again, thanks everybody for joining us today. So I'd like to just start off by asking you to take a look at this image here, right? I picked this image. I'll be honest, I didn't draw it myself, but it's it's a tableau, so to speak, of what is kind of common from what I hear from a lot of school directors, right? A pretty busy desk, a lot of things going on, a lot of fires to put out, information, communication coming from all sorts of angles all the time, in and out of the office, between the school and the parents. So, so you're in the right place if you're not a marketing expert, but you need to get more students enrolled in your amazing school, because you got a great school, and you just got to get some parents in the door. And there's better ways to market your school, but you don't really have the time to learn how to do it, because look at that desk. You're busy, right? You've got a long list of things to deal with, and becoming a marketing expert usually doesn't fit into your calendar very easily. And if you had more time, you'd rather probably spend it in the classroom, or developing your program, or hiring great teachers to join your school and your community. It's probably not, you probably didn't get into the position you're in because you wanted to become a digital marketing expert. You actually probably wanted to be in education, right? So so you're in the right place if that describes you at all. I also want to I want to encourage you to stay for the full 60 minutes of this presentation if you can, because I'm going to be reviewing a number of solutions to really the most common challenges of enrollment marketing today. I'm also going to be telling you how you can download a free ebook that we recently put out titled How to Get Started with Facebook Ads. And but you do have to stick around to the end to learn how to get that. So that's my little carrot I'm going to dangle in front of you. Yeah, so I'd like to kick it off. So I'm going to run through some case studies here of schools that we've worked with. This is Patricia Marreri from Fort McMurray Montessori in Alberta, Canada, and she has your typical, Montessori school director story. She started out as an educator and eventually opened up her own school. And like a lot of schools, they were seeing that word of mouth marketing wasn't really having the same impact as it used to. And year after year, enrollment was kind of starting to gradually decrease. And so she thought she should be able to learn how to become a decent marketing professional on her own for the school, and she's obviously plenty smart enough. she's certainly plenty smart enough to do that. But the problem is it's the time, right? So she realized pretty quickly that she just didn't have the time to fit it in. It takes too much time for someone that's running a school and being in the classroom and doing those types of things. So we met Patricia at a conference, and she signed up with us a few years ago, and we helped her get to capacity with 40 new students in about 6 months. And she's been working with us ever since, and it's been a real honor. And I just want to do a quick check. I want to make sure everyone can hear me. So I'm hearing a little fuzz in my headphones. So if I'm cutting out, please just pop into the chat box and let me know. Otherwise, I'll just keep going. This is Brian Gordon from Global Montessori Academy. I like to show him after Patricia because he's really comes from a very different background. He was a computer programmer. He has an MBA, and he worked for Walmart corporate. And but now he's the executive director of a private school. And after having a few false starts with some outside marketing agencies that didn't go so well, he was a little bit hesitant to bring us to his board, but he did. And then basically they decided to move forward, and we got them to capacity in 9 months with 70 new students. So everything I'm going to show you are the strategies we use to help these schools. I'm going to break it down very specifically for you. So we've been lucky to work with Brian and the school for over 4 years now. This is Laura McDonald. She had just opened up her school last year. She was able to get to about 11 students on her own, and now she's got 50 enrolled. So that she started working with us. She realized she actually has a business advisor that actually found us and connected us with the school, and now they're actually expanding, because they've got the right marketing strategies in place. Again, I'm going to show you exactly what they're doing so you can see exactly how to do it, so you can even do it for yourself. And now they're expanding their school because they're at capacity, and they've got a big healthy waiting list, and they want to grow the school, and so they're actually building onto their existing building, which is really exciting. And this is Kiva Hampton from Inner City Christian School, and she actually holds the record as far as working with us that we've seen any school. It's an enrollment growth record, so to speak. So within launching her campaign within 2 weeks, they had gotten 18 new students enrolled in the school, which is really amazing. Again, I'm going to break down exactly what we did for them that worked. So again, you can take that information and run with it and see some great enrollment growth. So here's a core concept. Oh, actually, I've been jumping through some of these slides here on one screen, and you're not seeing it on the other. So this is Brian Gordon. This is Laura McDonald, 50 new students in 12 months. This is Kiva Hampton from Inner City Christian School. Again, she holds our record, 18 students in 2 weeks. And again, I'm going to break down exactly the exact strategies that they employed, that we employed for them, that had these results. So here's a core concept behind our solution. So this is what you should be doing before you invest in any other advertising. You should first focus on Facebook ads to grow your enrollment, because they are consistently the best place to generate the most students from the best fit families for your school at the lowest cost per student. Secondly, you need a complete system, right? You need more than just good ads. So it's not just the Facebook ads. You need more than that. Facebook is just one part of a complete system. And until you have the entire system built properly, you really should not spend a single dollar on any ads, because the probability that you're going to waste every dollar you spend is too high. It's too easy to waste money with digital marketing, and everyone's done it. Everyone that's tried it has wasted money. So you got to be really careful, and you need a complete solution built the right way before you spend a dollar. Lastly, you need to build a team of people with different skills and focuses, because there are too many things for one person to learn how to do well enough, let's say, to be able to really be successful with a system like this and all the different components. Especially if you're running a school, where's the time going to be, right? Like, so you need people that are creative, you need people that are really technical, you need people that are very strategic as well. These are different personality types, different skills. It's not something that one person generally does all of those things together on their own really, really well. So to build a marketing system that you need, there's just simply too many moving parts that require very different talents, and it's simply not a practical thing for someone to do on their own. So before I kind of break everything down, I just want to take a quick second to introduce myself and the team here at Hubbli, the leadership team here at Hubbli. We're actually we have a combination of digital marketing experts, technology experts, and private school management experts. So myself, I'm the CEO. I founded Hubbli. I've been working with schools for about 20 years. I also come from a software and marketing background. And I've been working with schools in various capacities, mainly delivering school management software solutions, also doing some consulting. I've also done some teaching. And then we got Mark Selden, who is our CTO, Chief Technical Officer, and he actually is the founder of the Center for Guided Montessori Studies, which is the largest Montessori teacher training company in the world. Actually started out as a customer. He also has his own school, and started as a customer, and ended up becoming part of our executive team as well. So he actually splits his time between the CGMS and Hubbli. Teresa Beretta is our COO, our Chief Operations Officer. She comes from the digital marketing and software background. She keeps our team running as we keep on growing. She makes sure everyone is performing a really great service to our clients, basically. Tim Selden he's on our board of directors. He's also the president of the Montessori Foundation, and just an incredible, a real luminary in the, not just the Montessori world, but education management in general. Also a really smart marketing mind as well. Jonathan Wolf, another guy that's also a really well-known, sought-after education consultant, education management consultant, and also a really, a guy that just really understands marketing and has been an incredible part of our advisory team as well. So that's who we are. Of course, we have an expanding team that, as schools, we keep on getting more and more clients. But these are the people that are steering what we do and helping us define and figure out the best strategies to that I'm going to show you in this webinar that have helped the schools, the case studies here. Moving along. So let's just take a second here and talk about the problem. Like, why is this such a problem for everybody? Like, why is it so challenging for schools to get the right parents in the door for tours? If you take a look at this graph on the left, you'll see that there's 25% more private schools in the U.S. than there was 25 years ago. And at the same time, right, the average family is having almost half the amount of children that they had 25 years ago. So these trends are making a more competitive landscape. There's more schools. I talk to school directors, owners all the time. 20 years ago, they were the only school in the area. Now there's like 3 of them that have popped up, and sometimes even in the last few years, because the population's growing and there's more schools and more competition. And then something that exacerbates the problem is, the average age of a school administrator is 49 years old, whereas the average age of a parent is 28 years old, right? And 20 years ago, these two demographics really had the same communication behaviors and expectations, but today they're actually quite different. And so every year the people that are running the schools, if you think about it, right, they're getting older, but the customers, right, the parents, are really, they're staying the same age every year, so right, because ideally you're getting parents at the earliest years of your programming so that they stick with you. So really the ideal target parent is the youngest. I think on average, it's women between the age of 25 to 44 that generally engage the inquiry process. It's 9-to-1 women to men. So your target, really your ideal target for your school, and to make the most healthy school organization, is to be getting those young moms into the inquiry process. And so again, the difference between these two demographics on a communication level has really changed. Does that make sense? I just you can just ask yourself if you've noticed those things like that, yourself. So the truth is, though, even with all that data that I've shown you, it's never been easier for a private school to fill your enrollment, and I'll explain why that is, because it might sound a little counterintuitive now. So you're probably aware that there are more women in college today than ever before. And in fact, there are considerably more women than men in college today. So this means that the average young mother is more educated, and more women are working than ever before. And these young mothers are much more aware of what better education means, right? And this demographic is more engaged than they used to be. And so they're really actively trying to find the best education, because they are educated themselves and they really value education, meaning the exact demographic that you need to engage and target is growing, and that's great news, right? So that means that although there might be more schools out there, and there might be less children per family, the people that your customer, that your marketing is focused on, that population is growing across almost all Western society, which is great news. Your market is expanding. Okay, so and we can see from our data, from running a number of campaigns, and what interests there are with that, of the people that are engaging us, that these young moms are really interested. They're looking for an individualized focus on their child in the classroom, better ratios, smaller ratios between teachers and students, developmentally appropriate education, and a good strong focus on character development. And that's, it's just there's more of a standard awareness of what better education is. And let's say you're a Montessori school, as an example, then essentially, I mean, these moms are looking for exactly what you offer, and there's many other schools out there that offer the same kind of values, right? So these, I don't want to call them alternative education. It's just there's the private schools that are not standard, right? Like Montessori and the like, are actually, your specific market is growing, which is incredible news. So it's actually never been a better time to have a Montessori school. So, and it's really easy to reach that parent and get that, that 28-year-old mom to learn that you exist, and get them to book a tour and show up for a tour if you know what you're doing. Okay. And the problem is that most schools are just marketing to the wrong people, and they're marketing the wrong way, not in the most relevant way for that demographic today. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is ensure that your ads will get engagement from your ideal target parent, right? And the best way to write ads that attracts your ideal prospective parents is to learn how they would naturally speak about the values and the results that they are looking for from a school like yours, right? So then you want to take that language that that they would use to talk about it naturally, and you want to use that in the ads. So the easiest way to learn this is to identify the parents you already have enrolled in your school, and and have them fill out a survey. You want to learn from them how they would talk about the values that they perceive they get from your school. Not really the way you would word it. You want to understand how your favorite parents would actually talk about your school, how they would talk about it to their sibling or their cousin or their friends, that would maybe naturally create a word of mouth referral. You want to get that language from them and use that in your ads so that Facebook can be your kind of like your word of mouth referral, right? And then that's just a marketing best practice. It makes a lot more sense than you trying to figure out how you should word it. Why not ask your customers how they think about it? And that would change from zip code to zip code, right? So that's something that's really important to do. And then it's also really important to remember that when a parent decides to enroll their child in your school, in their head psychologically, they're not paying you for your school. What they're paying you for is the future that they think you will deliver for their child. Okay, so let's talk about sales, just sales in general for a second. Why do people buy things? And when they buy things, what are they actually buying? You have to think about that for a sec. So here's the thing that most educators don't know, and even a lot of salespeople don't know this stuff, but people don't buy products or services, right? People buy the results that your product or service brings to them, right? They are buying the transformation from their current state to the state at which they want to be in the future that they believe you're going to help them get to if they pay you, okay? So as an analogy, imagine you're stranded on an island in the middle of the ocean, and all you want to do is get back home to your family, to your comfy house that has central air. You don't really care how you get there, right? It could be a boat, could be a plane or a helicopter, or a rocket ship, who cares? You just want to get home. So you're not really, you as a school owner or a school director, you're not really selling your school. What you're selling is you're selling parents a vision of their child's future. Okay, so let's say you run a Montessori school. Well, of course, the parent has to align with the values of a Montessori education. Same goes for any kind of school, a Waldorf school or a Christian school or Reggio Emilia, whatever kind of school you have, right? But at this stage of the relationship, the specific methods and tools are not really the most important thing to that parent, right? As long as they believe that your school has good educators, great educators, and warm and loving people that are going to educate their children, and that you know how to help their child develop into the best future version that they vision for their child or that they want for their child. Just like a person that's stranded on the ocean, stranded on an island in the middle of the ocean, doesn't really care if the boat has a Kawasaki engine or a Yamaha engine. They just want to get in that boat, and they want that boat to take them home, right? And that's what they're looking to you for. And I'm talking about this very initial stage of the inquiry process. I'm not talking about, everything I'm talking about here is specifically about the inquiry stage. Once they come in for the tour, there's a different result that you're looking for. But at this very initial stage of the process, and I'm talking also specifically about somebody that is not coming from a word of mouth referral, because a word of mouth referral is way further along. They're like 90% sold on your school already, and you don't need to invest in marketing to those people because they're going to come for a tour. So, again, we're talking about filling that gap that used to not exist, but today with all the different schools and the other options, most schools are finding that word of mouth is still getting a lot of students, but it's not filling up their school anymore. So how do you fill up the school? How do you tap into that growing market of those moms that are a good fit for your school, but they don't know you exist, right? And maybe they don't understand that what kind of education you offer and why it's so good, right? But they do know what they're looking for. They have a vision of it. So they just need to understand that you have a path to that vision of that transformation that they're out there looking for, and you got to get them into the school so that you can show them how that works, right? So get my next slide up here. So now I'm gonna say something that might surprise people. So contrary to what is really popular opinion amongst most school leaders, your school's branding does not help you get new students. I'll repeat that. Branding does not help you get new students. It can help you retain students, but it doesn't help you get new students, okay? So the only type of marketing that you should be investing in is called lead generation marketing. All right. So it's a myth, and a lot of people believe it, but branding does not help you get students. Okay. And you might be asking, well, what's the difference between branding and lead generation? And I want you to know is actually it's a very large difference. This isn't a subtle difference. This is a huge difference. Okay. So I'm going to take a step back and talk about some marketing theory basics. All right. So the way that any business should choose their marketing strategy is by aligning it with the way their customers make a purchasing decision. Okay. And this is true whether you're Coca-Cola or a shoe store or a little local brick and mortar private school. This is just a marketing truth. Okay. So let's compare different kinds of businesses. Let's take a look at Coca-Cola customers, right? For a second. So, because when somebody, so first of all, let's just talk about Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola is clearly the biggest brand in the world. Everybody knows they're the most recognizable brand. You can go anywhere in the world and get a Coke, right? I mean, could you imagine ever forgetting that Coca-Cola exists? It's hard to imagine, right? But their marketing budget is over $1 billion a year, and they spend it pretty much exclusively on branding. So why do they do that, right? Right? If they're the biggest brand in the world, why do they have to spend over $1 billion a year on branding? But they have to, and if they stop, I mean, they do it because they have to. They don't waste money. And that's a lot of money to waste if it's a waste, right? You got a lot of smart people figuring out how they, if they actually stop branding, they won't exist. Probably in a year or two, they'll actually just shut down, which is crazy to think, right? So if you think about it, though, like, why do they have to do that? So when their customer is making a buying decision, I'm going to skip over here. I got to the next slide. So when a Coca-Cola customer is making a buying decision, they're looking at a wall of like 50 different drink options, right? And Coke wants them to spot their red logo amongst the other 50 logos and get some kind of feeling about their product, right? So Coca-Cola has to literally interrupt you all day long with ads that include cute polar bears and Santa Claus. So you're more likely to spend that $1.25 on their sugar water rather than somebody else's sugar water, right? So as far as purchasing decisions go, this is really inconsequential for somebody. It's consumer-oriented product, small dollar amount, small consequence. But like it's just $1 here, $1 there. It's not a big risk. There aren't much implications to this decision, right? Unless you have too many of them, obviously. It can make you unhealthy if you go overboard. But now let's contrast that with how your customers, i.e. the parents, make their decision to enroll their child in your school. So when your parents, let's get to my next slide here. So your customers are making one of the biggest decisions of their entire lives, right? It's up there with marriage. Who am I going to marry? Where am I going to live? What am I going to do for a career? What school am I going to send my children to, right? As we all know, parents that, for a parent to decide if they're going to send their children to your school, they have to go through many steps to make that decision. They have to contact you and schedule a tour, make room in their calendar, maybe take some time off work, get a babysitter, remember to even show up. You know, they have to get in their car, they have to drive over, and they're willing to do all of that labor because this is a huge decision with very big implications, right? So they're willing to go through all of that effort to make this very important decision. And they have to decide if they're going to pay you, with a lot of schools, tens of thousands of dollars, right? And allow you to play a very influential role in the future success of their child. So if you ask yourself something, right, like the last time a parent came into your school for a tour and they had that sort of full body emotional experience when they came in and they saw it and they heard it and they touched it and they smelled it and and they fell in love with your school, and it was like instant recognition of the place. They saw the vision of their child in the future, right? And this is the experience that a lot of school leaders tell me they see when parents come in. They see it happening right in front of them, right? And I can tell you from my own experience, when I toured my children's school, it was like that. It was a very emotional, very moving experience, and there was tears in my eyes because I recognized something that I wanted very, very deeply for my children. I was thinking about their future lives, right? So let me ask you, when parents go through all of that effort to come in for a tour and they experience that sort of deep recognition of finding the right fit for their family, do you think it mattered to them what your logo looked like? Like, do you think it mattered to them what color palette you chose for your website? Like, does it even matter what the name of your school is? Have you ever had a parent say, this is the most amazing school I've ever seen. I want my children to go here, but I just don't like your logo. So I'm going to go to the other school that I don't really like that much, but because I really like their logo better. Like, that's crazy, right? Like, your logo is really inconsequential. I can promise you there's many great schools that are full of students with waiting lists, and they have very poorly designed websites and old logos, and they don't look very good, but because it's just not that big of a deal. It doesn't really play a role here. Branding doesn't matter in this kind of decision, right? Because it's just inconsequential, right? The only concern you really have to have in regards to your branding is that you just got to make sure it doesn't offend anybody. So essentially, make sure there's no swastika in your logo, and you're going to be just fine. That's pretty much all you have to worry about. That's a pretty low bar, right? You don't have to invest heavily into that. And as it really kills me when I talk to schools and they just spent like $5,000 or $10,000 rebranding their website and their pamphlets. It's really, really unfortunate because it actually doesn't have an impact on your enrollment. Some people think like if they just design a new website that they're actually creating a marketing strategy, and they're not. It doesn't help. I can tell you, I talk to schools all day long. They redesign their website and they have the same enrollment openings the next year because that didn't have the impact that they hoped it would. And if that was your, scenario, I apologize if it's pouring salt on the wound. But one of the most common mistakes we see that with school websites is that they're designed to promote enrollment, right? They're designed as if the parent is supposed to gather enough information and make a decision from the website as to whether this is the right school for their child or not, right? And the big problem with this is that parents cannot gather decision-making information without first coming into your school. We just talked about that, right? That is the only way a parent can actually learn what they need to learn to make that decision. And also for you to decide if this is the right family, you probably want to meet them at least once, probably more than once, right? So, I mean, it takes a full body experience for your customers to get the right kind of information. And you cannot learn that information from a website, from an email, from a video, from a phone call. You can't. So your website is not there to sell them on your school. Your website is there to promote booking a tour so that they come into the school and learn the only way they possibly can if this is the right school for their child. Okay? Does that make sense? Right, so I'm going to show you how you should be using your website, but first I'm going to show you the results that you can expect from using it the right way. Okay, so let's jump in there. So this is a case study from one of our customers, Rising Scholar Montessori. Before working with us, they were making very similar, mistakes on their website, and the result was they were not really getting many inquiries, aside from word of mouth inquiries, which unfortunately were not enough to keep them full. So on their main website, they had many long paragraphs about their education, their educational philosophy, their Montessori school, a lot of information about the Montessori method and their programming. But the problem is that it was turning away people that were not already interested in learning about Montessori, right? Because those people were not really coming to learn about Montessori. They were coming to learn if this is a school that is going to get them to the vision of their future, right? They didn't really care, again, if it's Montessori or Reggio Emilia or this or that religion or whatever it is. That wasn't what they were interested in, because they're on the island and they want to get back home, and they don't care if that boat has a Kawasaki engine or a Yamaha engine. They just want to get on a boat that's going to take them home, right? They want to get to that. They want to get that transformation. But the school website was focusing on the features, whether it's this kind of paddle or this kind of propeller on the plane, and that is the wrong time to be focusing on that level. There's a right time for it, but at this initial inquiry process, it is the wrong time. Okay, so after we set up their enrollment marketing system, they were getting 30 inquiries per month. So let's take a look at the system that we built for them. So it starts with a Facebook ad, and then when people click on that ad, it takes them to a landing page where they fill in an inquiry form, and once they're submitted the form, they're automatically redirected into an automated tour booking system. And that means that the admin of the school no longer have to spend time communicating with parents until they actually show up for a tour. And that's really critical also for running a school efficiently, because until parents show up for a tour, they don't really deserve your time. Not because they're bad people, but because you have limited time and you got parents that are enrolled and you've got staff and you've got children, and all those people really deserve your time. And it doesn't make sense for you to be spending your very limited and very valuable time with parents that might just be kicking the tires or not that interested or not even have children. You don't know why they're, it's like maybe they were just trying to collect information. Maybe they're looking for a job. Who knows? You don't want to be chasing after people that might not even be, a relevant prospect, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so let's see here. So the second critical element is you want to, once you get the right ads, you want to set up a campaign tracking performance system. Campaign performance tracking system. Get the words in the right order there. So when we first started working with Rising Scholar Montessori, like a lot of schools, they really had no idea how much they needed to actually budget for marketing. And they didn't know that because they had no idea how much it actually cost them to generate an inquiry, right? So I'm always asking schools how much they spend per inquiry, and they never really know. And that's actually a really big problem, unfortunately. And it's very much the exact answer I get from every school I talk to, unfortunately. And the one thing that's really great about Facebook is that if your system is set up correctly, which is just some technical stuff, it will report to you exactly which inquiries came from which ads, which parents, which inquiries came from which specific ads, and how much you're spending per inquiry. So now you know what ads are working, what ads aren't working, and so as I'll show you in a second, that really puts you in a position to know exactly how much you need to budget for marketing later on. Okay. And I'm going to jump through a couple of slides here because I see that I'm getting short on time. So bear with me 1 second here. Okay. All right. Sorry for the delay, folks. Going to just jump through. So, the third myth that's a very common issue in the private school world is, one of the best ways to impress a prospective parent today and build a sense of trust is to show them that you're extremely well organized and that your office is run efficiently. At this stage of the relationship with a prospective parent, again, not somebody that's coming from a word of mouth referral, the people, right, the other people that you're not reaching, that are not going to show up for a tour and be 90% sold like a word of mouth referral. We're not talking about those folks. We're talking about the ones that you're going to actually get to come in by using ads, right? So it's a myth. A lot of people think that they need to follow up with these inquiries in a very personal way. The problem is that your inquiry process needs to be automated to ensure that it's always professional, because that is what parents are looking for at this initial inquiry stage. Again, when they don't already know you by word of mouth. Okay, so the analogy I like to use is, it's dating for marriage, so to speak. So if you think about how large of a decision this is, it's a really big decision, right? It's up there with some of the biggest decisions that you'll ever make. I talked about this earlier. So when this archetypal 28-year-old mom is checking out schools, and she's inquiring at different schools, it's like she's going on first dates for marriage, right? These are blind dates. She hasn't met the person before. She's not really looking for an engagement ring on the first date. She just wants to figure out if she wants to go on date number 2, right? She just check off a couple of basic boxes, okay? And that's what the initial inquiry stage is. It's like a first date, whereas the tour is like the second date, okay? And so to get from the first date to the second date for a private school scenario, you really want to be professional and organized. That's how you build the right kind of sense of trust, right? Because when someone's, just buying a $2 soda, it's just a very quick response, but this is a huge decision, right? So the way to build trust with a 28-year-old mom is to be very clear and concise and businesslike. And of course, they need to believe that the school is run by warm and loving educators. They need to believe that that's on the other end of the inquiry process when they actually come in for a tour, that they're going to meet a wonderful person. But now they also want to first know that that wonderful person is also working inside of an organization that's well run, right? Because that's the first step. That's the first checkbox that has to be checked. So so that's how you build trust at the inquiry stage, so that they're more likely to show up for a tour, and then you just do what you do. Usually schools don't, generally speaking, schools have a very, very high success rate once parents come in for a tour, right? So it's just the real challenge is just getting the parents to actually come in and show up for a tour, so that the school can essentially sell itself and they can just fall in love. That makes sense? Okay, so I'm going to show you what an automated admissions process, how that works, and the benefits you can get from that. But before I show you the results, I just want to show you I want to show you the results that you can expect from having a system like that before I kind of break it down. So at Rising Scholar Montessori, they were kind of doing everything the old school conventional way. Everything was manual. They were trying to develop a relationship with every inquiry, really get to know them. And it was just, it wasn't very efficient. It was very time consuming. It also pushes a lot of parents away because they're not ready for that yet, because it's just a first date, right? So a lot of time consuming and unproductive steps that's what was happening. So now what they have is a very simple dashboard. They just log in. It's very easy to see, a very simple list to manage and track where all of their inquiries are at that inquiry stage, from the point of learning about the school, inquiring, and then booking a tour, and then actually showing up for the tour. Okay, and then the system's working in the background, managing all the, handling the emails and the reminders and the appointment scheduling and the data entry and putting it into the database. All that stuff is happening in the background, so that the school doesn't have to spend all that time, right? Because so what happens is when you turn on a good ad campaign and it starts generating a lot of inquiries, guess what else can happen? If you don't have an efficient system and you're doing everything manually, then that creates hours of additional work, right? And that's when, if you don't have an efficient system, not only can you waste a lot of time on money, because, if you don't follow up with these parents, which happens a lot in schools tell me all the time, they're getting inquiries and sometimes they just fall through the cracks. That's literally, you're paid money to get that inquiry in. And if you don't follow up with it in time, quickly, that's like wasting money. It's kind of like just flushing money down the toilet, right? So that's bad. Also, recently I talked to a school director told me that one of her teachers was sick, and she got pulled out of the classroom. She got pulled out of the office into the classroom to cover for a sick teacher, and that went on for a number of days. And during that time, she couldn't really follow up with any inquiries, and one of them got offended and went and wrote a negative review on their Facebook page. So, it can put you in an unprofessional light. Maybe a parent like that is one that you kind of want to avoid anyways, but those kind of online reviews, they can turn away great parents, right? So, so it's just something you want to avoid, obviously, and there's no need for it. If you have a system that's following up with everybody, that can happen automatically. So essentially, if you think about all the different things that are going on in the background during the inquiry process, it's better if it kind of ran like a self-driving car. That's what you should have, because there's just so many ways of developing that with so many different software options to automate this process. Not only does it save you time, it actually gets a higher percentage of your inquiries to show up for tours, because you're building trust the right way, showing them that you're organized and always communicating the right way at the right time with these folks. And that's really, really important. And okay, so I'll show you kind of what was going on in the background, what our system was doing in the background for Rising Scholars. This is what our software platform does. So I'll just kind of break the high level numbers down. During this case study, they spent $1,000 on the ads. During that time, they got 12 students at a cost of $83 per student. Okay, so I'll just kind of walk through this. So the ads came in from the Facebook ads that we generated from them. And of course, if they have other ads in Google, or if they just have organic traffic, our system manages all the inquiries, even walk-ins, of course, and things like that. But we're just talking about, these numbers are based exclusively on the Facebook ads that we ran for them. So people clicked on the Facebook ad, they came to a landing page. So that's a web page that's dedicated to the traffic from the ads, not the home page. Please never send ad traffic to your home page. It is like throwing money in the toilet. So you need a dedicated landing page for every ad campaign. So people clicked on the ad, came to that landing page, they filled out the inquiry form, and then they're automatically sent over to book a tour. And if they don't book it right away, they get automated follow-up invitations over the next week, every few days, to remind them to come back and book a tour. So they got about 10% of those inquiries to book a tour. So that was, they spent $1,000. If you remember, they got inquiries for $10 each. So they got 100 inquiries, and out of those 100 inquiries, 10 of them self-booked a tour. Now, 70% of them attended the tour, and they got automated reminders to show up for the tour that they booked. Okay, and parents come in, we hear from customers all the time, they really appreciate these reminders, because obviously this is very important to them, and they know they're automated because that's the kind of process they get from their chiropractor or their dentist or their lawyer, whoever. Everybody uses automated reminders. If they think that you're actually manually sending reminders to them every time, that probably maybe in the back of their head seems a little strange, because they know there's software out there to do this, right? So if they come in knowing that you're well organized, you're up to date, and you're a well organized school, that's going to give them that confidence. That's going to be checking those boxes for them in this first date process, right? Now, out of the parents that showed up for the tour, 70% of them enrolled. So that was a total of 5 students so far. Now, there's still 90 parents that inquired but did not yet self-book a tour. So the system also has a open house sign up. This school would do monthly open houses. So before every open house, the system would send an automated invitation out to all those inquiries that have not yet booked a tour. Over the next few months, they got 20% more of those parents to sign up for an open house. 50% of them actually showed up. So after you sign up, it's about a standard 50% show up rate is about an industry standard for open houses. So half of them showed up to the open house, 70% of them ended up enrolling. So now they have a system that when, it just works automatically. They just have to show up for tours. They just turn it on and it gets tour bookings happening, right? So in the future, so they know that it costs them $83 to get a student, and they have a system that automates that process and tracks it. So it's predictable and it's repetitive. So if they have 10 spots open up next year, they know exactly what their marketing budget should be, because it's $83 times 10. You put that back into the Facebook ads, turn on the machine with one little click, and you get 10 students for a cost of $833. That's what every school should have. That's the type of marketing that every school should have. And any business that's like a school, any kind of local brick and mortar business that really requires getting demos or sales calls to come in needs to have this kind of system, especially schools. Okay, so now I'm just going to run through some of the kind of features you want to have in your system. You want to have digital forms because that just saves you a lot of time. Collecting information by paper is really time consuming, and it's just really old school, and nobody needs to do that. And parents don't like filling out paper forms. Nobody does. You want an appointment management system that sends, allows people to self-book tours according to your schedule. So only what you're available for will show up on this, and parents can click it. And these types of systems are great for tours or open houses or even parent-teacher conferences, and they send automated reminders and things like that. So you want to have those in your system. So as a summary, what you want to do is you want to build targeted Facebook ads that communicate the values that your ideal parents are looking for in the language that they would use to talk about them, right? And you want to standardize the way you follow up with all of your inquiries so that you appear more businesslike and professional. And that's how you get the results of more parents actually showing up for tours after they inquire. And then you want to use a digital system to automate that whole process so that not only can you track it and you know how it's going. If you're not tracking it, you can't improve it, right? But you're also this stuff is standardized, and if you're going to be manually performing standardized communication, that's literally the definition of busy work, and you have much better things to do with your time than spend it doing busy work. I think if you're an educator, there's way more important things for you to do. I'm sure you agree. So okay, so what do you think? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. I'm not exactly sure why you showed up here today, but I'll take a guess. You probably want to stop wasting time and money on marketing activities that you don't even know if they work or not, right? Or if they have ever worked. You want to free up time from your boring sort of repetitive remedial activities like this busy work, of sending reminders and, moving information from sheets of paper to spreadsheets and things like that. So you can spend more time on the higher value and more enjoyable tasks like being in the classroom, interviewing new families, developing your great program. You want to give your prospective parents a communication experience that is engaging and informative and makes them look forward to enrolling their child in your school. And you want to be able to keep your school enrolled fully to capacity with a nice healthy waiting list that's always staying consistent, and you have predictability in your enrollment from year to year. And you want to have enough inquiries coming in month after month so that you're not afraid to turn away parents that maybe aren't the best fit for your school. And whatever kind of school you are, you're gonna determine what's the best fit. You want to be in a position to be selective, right? So that, because that's the best way to deal. Well, after having a great school, the next best way to keep your retention high is to be very selective with who comes in, right? And you want to know that, so you know that you're capable of doing more, and you just need to get these roadblocks out of your way. And these are the same roadblocks that everyone's dealing with, in all the schools I talk to. It's the same thing. So, so you can do all of this stuff. If you're running a school, you're far more intelligent than needed to be able to do this stuff. But so you've shown up here today, you've made it a priority. Hopefully you've taken some notes. I hope some of this are some helpful takeaways. And maybe you're even excited about trying to implement some of this stuff. And I want you to know that the right marketing strategy can really have a big change on your school and your life, right? And you just have to know exactly what to do at your school specifically, because all schools are a little bit different, right? You're in different demographics. You might be in a big city. You might be in an urban setting or a rural setting. I'm sorry. We work with schools in New York and in Utah and Texas and San Francisco. These are all sort of different demographics, right? And so, you might have people in your school, in your administrative team with different skills, right? So how you should implement stuff could be different for your school than someone else's based off who you're working with, who your team members are, or maybe you're just on your own. Who knows? What are the communication expectations of the parents in your area, in your zip codes, right? Because that changes from zip code to zip code, right? And what tools do you already know how to use? What tools are you already using effectively or ineffectively? Or do you need to switch, or do you need to just make small adjustments, right? And that's where we can come in to help you, right? So you've got two options. Like, option one is you can take this information I've given you here today. It's somewhat of a high level. It can only go so deep in a span of an hour. And you can certainly, I hope, I've had people take this information, go run with it, and have success, and that's great. We love to see that. We love to hear about that. But I'm pretty sure, like a lot of people in your shoes, you're really busy, and you might not have the hours it takes to really figure this stuff out and implement it. So the obvious question is, how can you easily figure this stuff out for your school? So this is when I'm going to take a second and tell you about what we do with our services. But first, I'd just like to ask your permission before I kind of give you my pitch, so to speak, on what Hubbli does. So do I have your permission to talk about our services? So just take a second, go into that chat box, and let me know. If as long as one person says yes, then I'll be happy to move forward with that. But I do want to wait and make sure I've got the permission of the audience today. Okay, I've got a yes. Awesome. So so what we offer is a completely hands-free enrollment marketing solution. We design and manage your Facebook ads. We build your automated enrollment inquiry management system. You get a simple dashboard to log in and see where all your prospective parents are within your inquiry process. And the system sends you reminders so that no one falls through the cracks. And you get unlimited consulting and customizations. So that's what we do. Okay, so we design and test many different ads and make sure we find the ones that generate the most inquiries for the lowest cost per inquiry from the best fit parents. And we design and test your landing pages for any programs you want to promote now or anytime in the future. So our service is like sort of on demand digital marketing. In 6 months you want to promote a new summer camp program, we'll handle that for you. All within the same system, and we test the entire funnel to ensure the highest amount of inquiries actually show up for these tours, right? So you get to spend your time with the parents that actually show up for tours and deserve your time, right? Our platform. So all of this is built around our platform. So our platform has all the tools that are needed to manage this process from top to bottom. So we don't need to make any changes to your website. We don't need to have access to your website. Everything that's needed top to bottom is all managed within our own platform. So that includes the web pages, the digital forms, the automated email system, the reminders, the appointment scheduling, and the enrollment management dashboard. And we manage this system for you. You don't actually have to learn how to build these processes. We manage it for you. We, according to what your needs are, we customize this for every school that we work with. And just to talk about why we do this, we're a mission-driven company. We only work with schools because we believe that you guys do the most critical work in society. There's nothing more important than giving young children great education. That's what fixes everything. It's our mission to help you focus on that by removing the sort of the business operations busy work out of your way. We want you to focus on the programming, on the kids, on developing the best teachers, right? And that's how we partner with you to get the best outcomes. We only work with schools because we want to spend our time doing what we love in a way that can have the biggest impact on the world. And that's why we partner with you guys to do that. So again, just to run through some of these case studies quickly. Patricia got 40 students in 6 months. Brian got 70 students in 9 months. Laura got 50 students in 12 months, and Kiva holds our record. She got 18 students in 2 weeks. So if you were to work with us, you will we'll fill up your tour calendar with the ideal fit families for your school. You'll have more margin in your day to focus on doing what you really love to do. You can automate your entire enrollment marketing system. And you'll get to present new parents with a professional appearance that, again, gets more of those inquiries to show up for the tour, so that you can then actually get to know them and really develop the real relationship, which can't really happen until they show up in person, right? And you get to increase your retention rate, because again, best way to do that after having a great school, which you already do, is to be in a position to have a waiting list and be selective and only bring in the best families that are going to help you build the best school. So so basically, that's the end of the presentation today. I'm here to answer questions. I'm not going anywhere. If there's any questions, please just put them into the chat box. And I just want to say, if you want to get a free strategy session, if you book that this week, it doesn't have to. The session doesn't have to be booked for this week. But if you just book it this week, we'll give you, only for you, the attendees of this webinar, you'll be getting a 50% discount off our services. Okay, so I'll explain obviously all of that in the strategy session after we figure out if it's the right fit and what you actually need. First and foremost, we got to figure out what you need. Then we figure out if we're the right fit for you, if or if we can just get you started and you'll be fine on your own. We're going to figure that out first, and then figure out what you need, and then you'll be able to, if you do want to work with us, you'll get a 50% discount. So you can just go directly to hubbli.com/getmorestudents. I'll also drop down a button here that you can click on. So there should be a button that shows up on the screen. So I'll just keep that up for about 15 minutes while I answer any questions that people have. So please feel free to go ahead and ask any questions. Ask away. I'm here to answer any questions you have on any of the information we talked about. It doesn't have to be on our services. I'm here to, again, we're here to help give you some tools, what you can do, what you should be focusing on, what you should be not doing, right? So please feel free to use this time. Ask me any questions on marketing strategies, any topics. I'm here. So just go into that chat box on the right side. Let me know if you have any questions. And can I just get a confirmation? Are you guys seeing that offer that I popped down with the button? It takes you to the same place. If you go to hubbli.com/getmorestudents, there you can book a free strategy session. But if you click on the link on that button, it'll take you to should take you to the same place. But I just want to make sure that you guys are actually seeing that button as well. Okay, we got some questions coming in. Wonderful. Okay. Teresa says, okay, seeing it already working, wanted to be more successful. Okay, great. So Surinder, what kind of budget can we look at if we want to have 100 students and want to, so if you have 100 students and you want to enroll another 25? So that's a great question. So so what I can, obviously I'd need to learn a lot more to give you any type of sort of accurate estimate, but I can tell you a bit of a range, Surinder. What we see across the U.S. and Canada and even overseas with the campaigns that we're running for schools is a range, of course. The way you want to think about it is a cost of acquisition per student. That's the way you should be, any business should think about budgeting for marketing. It shouldn't just be, what we usually see, which is, oh, well, we've got, let's put $1,500 into marketing. Just like, where did that come from? It should be based off what either a known or an assumed cost of acquisition of a student. And again, business best practice, standard business 101, cost of acquisition of a customer is a critical number for any business, whether you're Coca-Cola or a shoe store or a private school. So what we see as a range after all of that preamble is we've seen from like as low as $80 up to about $300 per, again, cost of acquisition per student. And that, again, there's many variables that go into what determines your cost of acquisition. So some of those variables are going to be just where you're located, right? How dense your population is. If you're in a rural setting, much sparser, it's going to take more, generally speaking, it's going to be a higher cost of acquisition for a student. If you're in a big city, it could be a lot lower just because, again, density of population. And it can change from zip code to zip code. So that's one thing. The other thing too is who's running your campaign, because there's many different areas that you need to test and optimize. There's the creative of the campaign, the targeting. Targeting gets really advanced. There's a lot of way. I mean, that can be a very sensitive area. But when I say optimize, I mean, as your campaign is running, if you have the right people, the right team running your campaign, if it's being tracked properly and they know how to go in and optimize all the different variables in the campaign, you should see the cost of acquisition decrease over time. And that can happen really quickly. It's actually, I kind of skipped over this slide just due to time, but it's really easy to take a campaign and improve the cost of acquisition by 1,000% in a matter of a few months, because you're, it's kind of a process of elimination. You're kind of moving levers up and down and seeing which variables work, what don't, and then as you learn, you eliminate the variables that are pulling the performance down. So as you eliminate them, the performance gets better and better. So as the performance goes up, the cost of acquisition goes down, right? I hope was that helpful. Were there any other questions? So to be more specific, because you asked about Surinder, you asked about 25 students. So I would say, you're probably looking at a range of, let's just say 2,500 to 5,000, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. It's hard to be specific without knowing more, but I would say, if let's say your tuition is an average, the average tuition I think in the U.S. is probably around 10,000, just to keep things simple. So $10,000 per year per student. So 25 students is $250,000 of additional operating revenue from tuition. So it's probably worthwhile to spend anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 to pull in $250,000. That's an incredible return, right? So if it's done right, it can be an incredible return. You can get an incredible return on investment. So please, folks, let me know any other questions. I'll be here for another few minutes. We'll also follow up with you afterwards. If you stuck around to the end, you will get an email that will have a link to the ebook that you can download as well. But I'm here to answer any questions. These are great questions. Teresa, I'd love to actually ask for a clarification. When you say you're okay, you said seeing it okay, already working, wanted to be more successful. What's already working? I'm not sure what you meant. Ken, we'd love to connect with anybody here. If you need help getting more students, you can go to hubbli.com/get more students and schedule a free strategy session we'll help you figure out if you have any quick wins that you can, make quick, inexpensive adjustments on, and that should see results quickly, or if you need deeper help, if we happen to be a good fit, and you think you'd like to work with our team, if you book it this week, we'll give you a 50% discount off our services. Surinder, you're asking, can we share this presentation with the school director? Is there a link? Oh yeah, absolutely. So you'll actually get a link afterwards that will have a replay. So you can have your school director sign up for the replay. That'll be automated. It'll be a recording, obviously. Again, folks, if there's any questions, please feel free to go into that chat box. Don't be shy. And if you want to just connect for a free strategy session, you can go to hubbli.com/getmorestudents, and or just click on the button that should be live there on the screen. Okay, we're gonna keep things going for about another minute, and then we're gonna wrap it up. And I just want to thank everybody for joining me. I really do appreciate you guys giving me your time. I know your time is really, really important, and it's in short supply. And I'm honored, to have you guys here. Surinder, you're asking if you can get references. Of course, absolutely. So if you you can actually email me at jono@hubbli.com. Any of the folks that were in this webinar that I showed you the case studies, they're all happy to be references, and I can send you a long list of many references of schools that we work with for sure. If you email me directly, jono@hubbli.com, I'll be happy to send you some references too. Absolutely. So feel free to do that. I'll actually type that up here. So I'll give you my exact link, JONO at my email address, jono@hubbli.com. Should be right at the top of the chat box, jono@hubbli.com. So again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining the webcast today. It's an honor to have you. And if we can help you, if this has been helpful, then that's amazing. If we can help you further to reduce your workload and help you get students and focus your time on your enrolled students and all the other things that that are probably more important for you to be focusing on rather than the kind of busy work of following up with inquiries, then we'd love to talk to you. So you can schedule that free strategy session at hubbli.com/getmorestudents, and I'll bid everybody a wonderful day, a wonderful afternoon. It's afternoon here on the East Coast, so depending on where you're joining us from, maybe it's a good morning, or maybe it's a good night. We've had people join us from Australia, right? So thanks so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day. And good luck getting more students, and let us know if we can help. Have a great day. Bye-bye.